Hi, thank you for having me here today. My name is Eunice Gatei Kirumba. I'm a mother of three, one daughter and two sons, and I am married. I've also done medicine as my first degree, so I hope I bring some expertise from that field. Parenting has really changed over time. For example, when we were growing up, we grew up with very authoritative parents. And parenting, I would say, was authoritative everywhere, be it from the neighbors, be it from schools during our 844 years. But nowadays, it has really evolved. There's now something called gentle parenting. And this happens even in schools nowadays. We can see there's also a change. And the community nowadays is also not as much as involved in parenting as it was before. Yes, there's a way that we can all balance from authoritative and gentle parenting, because for me, I believe a balance is everything. When we were growing up with the authoritative parenting, if you can all remember, it used to be, this is what you're supposed to do. And when you question, you were not really given an explanation. It was always because I have said it because I'm your parent. But nowadays, we have children who are questioning everything you tell them, including you need to eat now, and they will ask you, but why do I need to eat now and I'm not hungry? And for me, I believe finding that balance is what is going to take us to the next level, because I feel that authoritative parenting did affect some of the generation that we have right now. You find that because children are not all the same. Some children, it worked well for them, but for some children who psychologically, they are maybe emotionally, for me, I would say they're not emotionally the same, or maybe not emotionally strong. They would get to a point where they would rebel. And then that rebelling would lead them to the wrong places. And later on, they would turn out to not be what they're supposed to be. So yes, there should be a balance. And I believe the balance is what will bring up balanced children as well. So life at home definitely affects the life of a child significantly, because from the scientists and the evidence that we have, we know that environment affects the child's growth almost over 50%, apart from the genes. So the environment that a child grows in shapes them emotionally, psychologically, physically. I'll give an example. You have one child who has grown up in a home where everything is given into them, like there's love, there's nurturing, there's healthy diet, there's exercise. The parent is there for them, listening to them. That child will grow emotionally stable compared to a child who had an absent parent. When they come from school, maybe they don't even have anyone to receive them. They don't have food that is ready for them. Maybe they have a parent who is going through substance use disorder. So maybe they are brought up knowing, seeing the father or the mother come home and they're using drugs at home. Or maybe they're used to a father or a mother having violence in the house. So that definitely brings now trauma to the child as they're growing. And that is what affects the child even afterwards. Because the brain development of a child happens especially in the first 5 years of life. And that will carry them through until adulthood. So yes, environment is very important. So a safe home will determine how a child turns up later. So how you can help a child develop their individuality? For me, I believe that every child is born different and they're all unique. So you just have to allow, and they lead you. They actually lead you to their passion, their talents. So for me, I feel that you should let them lead you to where they want to be. But of course, with a lot of parenting, because you need to control some of the things that is happening. For example, if a child is a footballer and wants to be in football, the best thing you can do is to support them in the passion that they have, despite the fact that maybe you could come from a family of all business minded people, because at the end of the day, whatever their passion is what they will do without getting tired, without feeling like they are working so hard for it. Because everything, when you do it with passion, you don't even feel like you're working. So yes, as parents, I know sometimes it's very hard, but it's very, very important for us to support our children and to let them be what they want to be. And it's also very important to remember that our children will not always be what we are. Times are different. They need to pave their way, but with a lot of guidance and control from you. But the moment we allow them to be what they want to be, I believe that they will blossom to human beings that we can't even believe they will be. We don't need to control everything that they need to do. How the child is affected by different stages of development psychologically. From when the child is born, like we were discussing, a child is made up of their emotional environment, their physical environment, their psychological environment. It all comes into play. So from birth until retirement or until death, there are different stages that do affect the child development and the people who are taking care of them and how they treat them. So from birth until around 18 months, that's when the child's stages is mostly feeding. There's usually the stage that we call trust and mistrust, and this is from a theory by Erikson. He described it as if a child, that is when the child builds trust or not trust during that stage. So when they are being fed, they look at the person who's feeding me. Are they loving me? Are they nurturing me? And so if the person is good to them, they tend to build trust even in the outside environment. They tend to feel like even in the outside environment, there is love. And so I should trust even the people who surround me. But then if the opposite happens and the child is mistreated, during that feeding stage, they're not given love, they're punished, they tend to also react and feel like this world is full of people that I cannot trust. So even if a visitor comes, they feel like they cannot trust them. So that is the stage when a child psychologically builds trust or mistrust, and that will take them until adulthood. Then the next stage is very important, is between 18 and 3 years, and that's the stage when we start potty training them. And that is the stage that they feel like if they're potty trained the right way, they feel like they have built some self-esteem and they have the will to always want to do other things. It's not just potty training, but the example here is potty training. That is what they associate it with. So if it's successfully done, then that child is very confident, even outside, that they can be able to do more things for themselves. Then we go to the stage between 3 years and 5 years. Between 3 years and 5 years, this is when the child is learning how to do a few things for themselves. And it's called the initiative stage. So they have more initiative. They want to dress themselves up. They want to feed themselves. They want to try and even shower themselves. So if done in the right, conducive, loving environment, then that child blossoms and builds again a high self-esteem that they can be able to do things for themselves. And the opposite happens. If it is not done the right way and they face challenges, then automatically their brain tells them that they're not good enough. And that is how they will grow. They will grow knowing I'm never good enough. And that's what you see even in adulthood. Then we go to now when they're going to grade 1, between now 5 years to around 11 years when they're preteens. And that is when they're starting to build their talents. So some of them are good swimmers, some of them are good footballers, some of them are very good in academics. So there's some excellence in every field, and that's when they build self-confidence. So when that child outside there, now this is now from home, now we've gone to school, is more school-based. So if that child is very good at what they do and they're recognized, they grow up with a lot of confidence, and that takes them until adulthood. They grow up knowing that I'm so good in this, I can be able to achieve my goals if I put my mind to it. And the opposite happens. If the child at school is, maybe he was a good footballer, but then he was told he needs to be good in books and he's not good in books, then you can see what will happen. Their self-esteem is crushed. They were never given the opportunity to do what they should have been told to do. So that crushes who they are and their self-confidence, and that carries through until adulthood. Then now comes the most important stage, which is the identity stage. And that is between the ages of 12, when they are now going towards teenagers, to 19. That's when they are trying to identify who are they? What can they do? Like, are they accepted for who they are? And that's when they need a lot of guidance. That is the identity stage. And that's why you see sometimes people losing their identity. And most of the time, by the time we are discovering, it's around the age of 20 to 22 years, because the identity stage again happens when they are teenagers to 19 years. Then there comes a stage where now they have already identified their identity. Now we are trying to identify relationships. So there is intimacy stage. So if you end up having successful relationships, that builds your confidence. You end up in marriage, so you're very confident that you can build relationship outside here. But what happens with the opposite? You're trying to build relationships with people and it's not working. Then what happens? It crushes you and you end up being isolated. So that also creates another psychological problem later in life. Then after 40 years is a stage where we're making money, we're trying to settle things, we've looked after our families, we're trying to see whether everything that we were doing was successful, and it goes until the age of around 65. So if everything that we were meant to do is successful, again, our self-esteem goes up. If whatever else we had built so far is not successful, then that crushes us and we could end up desperate, depressed. Then now getting into the later stage where now you're over 65, you've lived your life, your work life is now over, your family, you've already built your family. What about if all that was successful? Then you're at peace facing death or end of life when it's coming, and you're happy that everything you've done has been successful all through. But what about the opposite happens? You are at retirement, things haven't worked out, family is not looking good, then you become depressed and you face fear as you come to the end of life. So in summary, those are stages of development that have been explained by Erikson. And as you can see, it starts from birth and it affects you all the way to the end of life. In conclusion, this topic is very passionate to me. And for me, I believe that creating a safe environment for a child from when they are born is very important, because that is what shapes who they become tomorrow, so that we don't pass trauma to generations. It is a high time we heal our generation. Thank you.